Coming up on the DLLS Mavs postgame show, the Mavericks use a dominant win over the Bucks to finish the preseason strong. What stood out, who stood out, and Tim Cato and Marc Stein all here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks analyst Bobby Carella. We are DLLS Mavs, your favorite guys covering your favorite team every single day and night, especially on game night at Kevin Gray Sports, at Bobby Carella. Tim Cato and Marc Stein will be joining us throughout the course of the show. Marc Stein will be joining us live from the American Airlines Center after the Mavericks finish off the preseason with a dominant win over the Milwaukee Bucks, 109-84, to get ready for the regular season just a week away when they take on the San Antonio Spurs. Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson starring in the Mavericks' final preseason game. As Bobby, they finish on a very strong note to be able to get ready for Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs a week from tonight.
Yeah, beating the 2021 champs by 25 in the preseason. I feel like they're setting the table. You know, they're ready to rock and roll. No, I mean, the game kind of went how we wanted it to, however, and how we thought it would. However, a win is a win, Kevin. And that's the first of many.
Okay. The first of many, cracking open the cold one. I guess somewhat of a cold one, I guess, here on
That's cold.
Is it cold?
It's not a cold one, but it's a cold.
Okay, cool. As long as it's good to you. Just like it was good to us to see the Mavericks get a win against the Milwaukee Bucks. A dominant second quarter where the Mavericks used a 22-6 run in the final 7:42 of the first half to really put the game away from there. Klay Thompson had a strong second quarter. He had 11 points, knocking down 3 3-pointers. Kyrie Irving, 6 of 7 from the field in the first half with 14 points, led all scorers in the first half. Those two were able to, especially Klay Thompson in the second quarter. Kyrie Irving setting the tone in the first quarter, really put the pedal to the metal, I should say, for the Mavericks offensively in that first half there.
Yeah, before I get too far into how good Kyrie Irving is at basketball, I do want to make it a point here, all right? We did a pregame show on these airwaves, on this channel, starting at 5:45 p.m., and we were lied to, all right? We were lied to by our friends at Mavs PR. They said Kyrie Irving wasn't playing, and then as soon as our show ended,
that's right. As soon as the show was over,
no, actually Kyrie is playing. So we did spread a little misinfo earlier, and for that I apologize, but it's not our fault.
It wasn't our fault. It was not our fault.
We were victimized. Fortunately, though, Kyrie did play tonight.
He did.
He was, I mean, like for the Bucks, they were missing basically their entire starting lineup. Luka wasn't playing for the Mavs. Kyrie was so clearly the best player on the floor. Like, he started the game 6 for 6. I think he had 14 points like midway through the second quarter.
Mm-hmm.
He was making left-handed bankers. He was making pull-up middies. He was making threes in transition. Like, the dude was just unbelievable. I mean, he looked like he's ready for game 25 or game 55.
He's clearly in midseason form, Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, he looked great. And you know, it was nice to see because in the first game that he played in the preseason, granted it was the first preseason game, it was kind of like, okay, you know, it was fine. Tonight, though, he was like incredible. He was absolutely incredible.
Offensively, for sure. I thought in the second preseason game, because he and Klay Thompson made their debuts against Utah in that second preseason game, I thought offensively Kyrie Irving came out and started well in that game as well. Obviously, we thought he might rest based off of what we had been hearing prior to the game, but it was good to see him on the floor. Obviously, with no Luka-Doncic, the focal point of the offense was going to be Kyrie Irving. He took it upon himself to set that offensive tone and really did so, getting the Mavericks started, and they used a really dominant second quarter to really put the game away. It was 54-38 at halftime and really didn't look back from there based off of what they did in that second period.
Yeah, I mean, he started hot, and then he kind of went into facilitator mode a little bit. Now, there were some heady times in the first half. We'll talk about that probably in the next segment, but I mean, Kyrie's just such a steadying force all the time. Doesn't matter if Luka's in, doesn't matter if Luka's out, doesn't matter who else is on the floor. Kyrie has this ability to like assert himself as a scorer while also making sure everybody touches the ball, and like while also pushing in transition, but like never forcing anything. Like it's just he always just makes the right choice.
Yeah.
It's just really, really impressive to watch. And it was cool to see Klay get it going. You made the observation that it kind of mirrored his first game in the preseason whenever Kyrie in that Utah game where he missed his first few shots and then he got real hot in the second quarter. That was the case again tonight. Made a couple threes or maybe 3 threes, pump faked his way into a long 2 as well. Kind of similar issues as we saw in the first 2 games too, where when he's putting the ball on the floor, he's not really getting a lot of separation on guys. But whenever you're playing with Kyrie, and especially when you're playing with Luka, so many of his shots are just going to be catch and shoot threes that he's only going to have to put it on the floor like probably 2 or 3 times a game. I'm not really worried too much about the 2 or 3 times. I'm more worried about, can that dude shoot 40% on threes? And tonight was a much better example of, I think, the kind of game you can expect from him as opposed to that last game in LA.
Yeah, against the Los Angeles Clippers. Let us know in the chat as well what you liked about the preseason finale for the Mavericks. Who stood out to you? Who played well? I already saw some comments talking about Kyrie Irving, potential All-NBA player this year. Folks really excited about the play of Kyrie Irving. But yeah, for Klay Thompson, it felt a lot like his first preseason game against Utah. Used a really good second quarter to get himself going. Obviously, some shots in rhythm from the three-point line. You mentioned the nice 2-pointer that he had. Nice little pump fake. Took a step in. Hit the jumper with confidence. Hit a nice 3 in the left corner as well. Those are the kinds of shots in rhythm that you like to see Klay Thompson taking. And if nothing else, he's comfortable at the American Airlines Center. Like, he feels good shooting the ball, it appears, through the 2 preseason games that he played at the AAC. He feels good about shooting in that gym for sure.
Yeah, the AAC has always been kind of known as a shooter's gym just because of the way the lighting is set up. There was that 1 or maybe 2 years, like right before the pandemic, so like 2019-20, the Mavs tried dimming the crowd around the court, kind of not necessarily as extreme as like Staples does.
I do like the theater feel, the marquee floor
but that
feel,
can make it kind of weird to shoot. The AAC is always very bright, and the lights are in such a spot that like they're never in your eyes. You have a very clear line of sight to the rim. Just opposing shooters always say that it's a shooter's gym, so that might have something to do with it. But also, I think it's just a comfort level, knowing where you're going to get your shots, knowing how you're going to get your shots. It's also really interesting to watch the way that teams are defending Klay, because his man is always looking at him. We're used to, and this is no knock against players that have come through here, because like Dorian Finney-Smith is one of my favorite players of all time, right? But so many of the wings that Luka and Kyrie have played alongside during this era of Mavs basketball have just been guys that the other team is willing to leave open, or maybe like, yeah, I'll just take an extra step off him. Who cares? Because like this guy shooting a corner 3, even if it's going to be at a 40% clip, is better than a Luka drive or a Kyrie pull up.
Yeah.
Not the case with Klay. Like those guys, his man is staying right next to him, sometimes in his pocket, and that does mean sometimes that Klay is going to either get some tough shots or like not have a lot of space. It's going to be tough for him to get going or whatever. But that also means there's one less guy in help.
Yeah.
That can slide over and help against a Luka drive, or that can go give more attention, tilt the floor more toward Kyrie. So it's just really cool to see that kind of gravity go both ways.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of attention on Klay Thompson, not just because of the kind of range that he has as a shooter, but we know, and we've seen throughout the preseason a little bit, when guys are running out at him, he can be able to make a nice pass, take a step in, make an attack off the dribble as well, make some passes. There are some things that Klay Thompson can do to keep himself, not just as a shooter, but get other guys involved as well. So when you've got a guy that can attack off the dribble a little bit still, even at the age of 34, he's a smart player who knows how to make nice passes to be able to get guys open and free them up for easy buckets as well. We've seen some of that in the preseason so far.
Yeah, I think, once he kind of gets used to, whenever I drive from the right-hand side to the left side of the floor, I know that Kyrie likes to do this. And I know Luka goes here. And I know Quentin Grimes is going to be there, but if that's Najee, he's going to do this. Like, once he knows what his teammates are going to do and how his teammates are going to respond to these sort of like improvisational read and react situations, you can drive with a lot much more like intentionality.
Yes.
Feels like he's kind of driving like, I wonder what's going to happen whenever I do this, and like you can see him thinking. And it's kind of like
that's gaining that chemistry, figuring out where guys are going to be in spots on the floor. That's going to take some time for sure.
Yeah, and like Tim talked about this the other day on the show. He was like, you don't really ever think about breathing, but once you think about thinking about breathing, now it's like I'm thinking about inhaling and I'm thinking about exhaling. It's like Klay has to think every time he does anything now. And so I think, a better indicator of how the season is going to go is probably going to come around like Thanksgiving, Christmas, sometime in that area, like game 15, game 30. once you really have an idea of what all your teammates are going to do.
Yeah, and most importantly, when Luka's on the floor, because that's what we're all waiting to see when Luka gets on the floor. That was one of the notes coming into tonight's game. No Luka Doncic, obviously, as he continues to recover from that left calf contusion. For the Bucks, no Giannis, no Dame, no Chris Middleton either. They really sat a majority.
No Bobby Portis.
Yeah, no Bobby Portis. He was in street clothes. So was Brook Lopez. So more so for the Mavericks, more so of a dress rehearsal for them, for some of their guys versus Milwaukee. They're ready to get to the regular season, clearly based off of them sitting their main stars for tonight's game. There's some folks in the chat letting us know what they felt about tonight's game. Shout out to Charlie Saturday. He's already in the chat, liking what or seeing what the Mavericks young guys were able to do. He said something about some Bucks fuzzy antlers, so we'll get to that here in just a second. Oh, yeah, here you go. Your young guys popped. Ours immediately got their fuzzy antlers ripped off their heads.
What a violent scene.
That's okay, yeah. Lots of Omax.
We're
going to get to Omax
trust
for sure.
me.
Yeah,
trust me. We got an Omax
you see this
breakdown
guy over
coming.
here? He's going to get to Omax in a little while. He had probably the highlight of the night.
Mere feet away from us, the Stars crew is doing a DLLS Stars postgame. Tough loss tonight for the boys in Victory Green.
Shout out! Oh man, no undefeated season for the Stars, unfortunately.
But the entire office was aware whenever Omax threw down that dunk.
Yes.
The entire office knew what was going on.
Thanks to you. Yes.
Yeah. Let me just say that.
Yeah, for sure. Omax providing the highlights of the night.
I do want to so kind of in closing here before we start talking about some of the deeper cuts. You mentioned this. This was kind of like, obviously the Bucks are doing their own thing, but for the Mavs, this was kind of a dress rehearsal, right? And Luka didn't play, and it wasn't totally whatever, but we did kind of get an idea of the rotation and maybe some of the pecking order a little bit. And it was noteworthy to me in a good way that Quentin Grimes was the starter. So it was Kyrie, Klay, PJ Washington. It was Daniel Gafford over Lively, which we talked about a little bit in the pregame, but how that was kind of surprising, and I don't think that's going to happen very often, if at all. But it was Grimes in the fifth starting spot. It had been Hardy. It had been Goatman. Obviously, Jay-Z and Gortman was starting whenever Kyrie wasn't playing at all. But Hardy, I think, had started all three other preseason games to this point, right? And tonight, Grimes got the nod over him, which was noteworthy to me, and I think well-deserved because Grimes has been really good. Thought he was okay tonight, too. And I like Grimes as that fifth starter because he can defend ones. All of a sudden, you don't have to worry about your point of attack defender. Like, who's that going to be? Is it going to be Klay? Is it going to be Kyrie? No, it's going to be Grimes, and you're going to be fine. So I did like that. I thought it was interesting.
Shout out to Joe in the chat. Box score watchers aren't going to be able to understand that Grimes being 0 for 7, but he was a plus.
He was 0 for 7?
What was the, yeah.
Oh, my God. I did not know it was that bad.
But it was a plus 27 on the floor. He was amazing at every other facet.
Yeah, he was good
tonight. And that's one of the things that we've been raving about so far this preseason. Not just the depth that the Mavericks appear to have on this team, but the newcomers, I should say, in Najee Marshall and Quentin Grimes, making an impact, showing us what we believe they're going to be capable of for this team during the regular season. Grimes really with the 20 points in the game against the Clippers tonight, doing other things when shots weren't necessarily falling. That just shows you what kind of impact these guys are going to make when shots aren't necessarily falling, but what else they can do on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, you have to be able to be like a multifaceted, multi-tooled player to be here. Now, you obviously, I talk about all the time, shut up talking about the NBA skill. You have to have an NBA skill, a thing that you can do better than 400 other players in the NBA, right?
Or at least have something discernible that you can begin to work with.
Yeah, what's your identity? What's your building? What's your foundation? But the next level beyond that is what can you do whenever that one thing isn't going?
Yeah.
Like Quentin Grimes is an NBA level shooter. Well, he was 0 for 7 tonight and he had a good game. Derrick Jones Jr., not quite an NBA level shooter, but you knew that he was always going to be great on defense. So whether he was 5 for 5 or 0 for 5, you knew he was going to have a pretty solid game. It's really nice to see Grimes, guys like Grimes, Najee, both the bigs, Lively and Gafford. Like if they're not going to score a lot, they can still find ways to be effective, be productive, and make an impact in other areas.
A little bit later on in our show, Tim Cato will be joining us as he's coming back from the American Airlines Center. We will also have Marc Stein live from the AAC. Klay Thompson, one of the players, speaking post-game as well. So we'll get Tim Cato's thoughts on what Klay had to say post-game after finishing up the preseason, especially with a strong second quarter for your Mavericks. Coming up next, though, who else stood out? What maybe were some lowlights in the game as we look at what the Mavericks were able to do in their preseason finale in a win over the Milwaukee Bucks. All that and more coming up here on the DLLS Mavs postgame show. But before that, let me talk to you about Temperature Pros. While it may be starting to get a little bit cooler outside, don't worry. You can talk to our guys over at Temperature Pros. It's a family-owned business and serve all of DFW, offering up a free tune-up if you call and mention our podcast, the DLLS Mavs podcast. They offer free estimates and financing as well, serving University Park, Richardson, Preston Hollow, Carrollton, Addison, and Farmers Branch. If you are a customer that signs their estimate on any new heating and air conditioning system by October the 21st, you'll receive a full rebate if the Mavs win the NBA Finals. So all you have to do is to get an estimate, get it signed, and if the Mavericks win the NBA Finals, you get your unit for free. You can reach them at 469-209-1184 or temperatureprodallas.com. That's 469-209-1184 or temperatureprodallas.com today.
Kevin, I'm a man
Bobby.
that is I'm a man that's all in on my job right now.
You are all in, yes.
If the Mavs did not have a game tonight, though, I would have been at a live show. I would have been seeing not
Hey,
Tim
wait a
Cato.
minute.
I would have been seeing Say Anything. They're playing a concert in Dallas tonight. All my emo fans will know what I'm talking about. But and in order to see them, I would have used Game Time to get my tickets. And the great thing about shopping for tickets on Game Time is you can see a full 360-degree panoramic view from your seat. So you know exactly what the view will be like. You know if I'm in section 114, section 7, section C, whatever. You know exactly what that view is going to be like. And they have all-in pricing, so you know what you're going to pay up front. It's not going to be a mystery box of convenience fees once you get to the checkout line. And they have the lowest price guarantee. If you can find a place that'll beat it, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. Kevin, what time is it?
Game time.
Ooh.
What stood out for the Mavericks in their dominant preseason finale win over the Milwaukee Bucks? Plus, we'll have our National and Mavericks NBA insider Marc Stein join us live from the American Airlines Center. Plus, Tim Cato will be joining us live in studio once he comes back from the AAC. Klay Thompson speaking to the media after the game, so we'll be able to get a chance to hear what Klay had to say or get to know what Klay had to say after the game as well. But the Mavericks used a dominant 25-point win to get it done over Milwaukee. Klay Thompson, really good second quarter. Kyrie Irving, 14 first-half points, pacing the Mavericks offensively. We'll get to the highlight of the night a little bit later on, where Omax Prosper had our entire studio yelling some stuff that we can't say necessarily on air, Bobby. But at the same time,
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to you.
Say that to Tim.
No, I'm talking to you because you was the one doing all that. But we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. But what else stood out in the game? Obviously, we talked about Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, but there were some other things that we noticed. And let's start with the centers here before we get to the guard play a little bit, because we noticed that Daniel Gaffer got the start tonight, Derek Lively coming off the bench. But I thought both centers played pretty well, especially Lively, showing some deft touch around the rim for Mr. Lively.
Yeah, well, the place where he showed a lot of touch wasn't even right. It was a little further from the rim than we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
That was the beauty of it. So Lively made 3, I don't know if you'd call them necessarily hook shots, but kind of not layups, you know?
Yeah.
One of them was definitely a dribble turnaround into a baby hook. One was kind of this running, floating layup, kind of a finger roll sort of thing. And all of that is very important. One was kind of a little drop-off pass in transition, a little 10-foot
Yeah, a little
runner.
teardrop in the trailer. Yeah.
It was really nice. And here's why that matters. So last season, Lively was almost 80%, if not 80%, in the restricted area. In the regular season, he was 23 of 47 on shots that were in the paint and not in the restricted area. That's less than 50%. That's not very good.
It's not ideal.
Because most of those aren't 13-footers. Most of those are like 4-footers, 5-footers, and you need touch. It's really close, but you need touch to finish those shots. And in the playoffs, he was 1 of 10 on those shots. He was incredible in the playoffs, but he could not buy a floater to save his life, right? Now, you're not going to get many of those. You might get 2 or 3 of those a game. You need to make 60% of them.
Yeah.
Not 40% of them, not 10% of them. You need to make 60% of those shots. And he made 3 of them tonight, and it was really, really good to see. He made 1 of them with his left hand.
Made 2 of them with his left hand.
He made 2 with his left.
Yeah,
okay.
it was 2 with his
All
left
right.
hand. Yeah.
And, he was working down on the court before the game with Tyson Chandler. Now, I don't remember Tyson working with him pregame last year. I remember Tyson working with him in practice, but not as much in pregame. He went through a pretty extensive pregame warm-up with Tyson tonight. And Tyson is a guy that he developed as his career went on really good touch where if he was inside like 7 or 8 feet from the rim, it was like a vortex, like it was going in, guaranteed. So, if he can develop that makes him even tougher to guard. And then obviously, once the opponent knows that you have a baby hook, once the opponent knows that you can float, then all of a sudden they're going to start sitting on that shot. And that's whenever you develop a counter move to that counter move.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you're getting like up fakes, up and unders. And then you're like getting to the free throw line a lot and you're becoming a superstar. So I don't want to get carried away or whatever, but that stood out.
Derek
to
Live
me.
is an all-star this year. I'm already getting carried away with it.
I meant to say super stud, not superstar. I want to make that clear.
Why not? Don't backtrack now. Superstar, all-star, it's all the same.
All right, I'm leaning in. Hall of Fame class of 2040.
That's right, exactly. But no, that was one of the impressive things I thought from the game as well, is that Derek Lively showing that deft touch around the rim, the footwork continuing to get better. And as you mentioned, the more he develops that offensive game, the more of a threat he becomes offensively. Again, another potential added dimension to this team. And we haven't obviously gotten into the three-point shooting that we may see a little bit more from him this year as well. There is just so many more parts of his game that appear to be unlocking for him, that the confidence is starting to grow in his abilities to be consistent with those shots. And the more and more you're seeing that from him, the better and better he's going to be becoming. Obviously, we know what he can bring on the defensive end, playing in space, becoming a better and smarter defender. But if he can continue to unlock those parts, especially within, the 5 to 7 foot area, even maybe out to 10 feet, he's talked about this preseason and during the offseason that he wants to dominate inside the paint. He wants to be a dominant force in that restricted area, and we're seeing some of those things start to grow and come to fruition, that with consistency, that can really turn him into a potential dominant force within the middle there for the Mavericks.
And it's very liberating, too, to Luka and Kyrie, who are, trying to penetrate, trying to get into the lane, trying to go to the basket. If your opposing big man, as a defender, cannot make a hook shot or a floater or a runner or anything other than a dunk, you can just leave that dude and go slide over to Luka and Kyrie pretty early, because that guy is not a threat to score unless he's half a foot away from the rim. But if Lively's able to get this little push shot, this little runner, then all of a sudden you slide over early on Luka and Kyrie, you wall off the restricted area from those guys, boom, it's just an easy little like shovel pass to Lively, and it's going in. So it just makes their job a lot easier too. It makes it a lot tougher to send early help, which means that Luka and Kyrie are going to have a little more space to work with if Lively can prove it over time.
Yeah, Lively was extremely active tonight. 10 points, was a +9. My man had 9 rebounds, was a perfect 4-4 from the field, and did all that work in 17 minutes. So
now, quality of competition, but still
the activity, the productivity and activity, and most importantly, the accuracy. He didn't miss a shot all night.
Yeah, no, I don't want to like change the mood, but can I change the mood a little bit here?
Yeah, because we got to get this. That was some really good stuff from the center play. But when we get to the backcourt, a little bit of concern in the backcourt.
Before we get to the backcourt, I want to very quickly say the Mavs tried to post up PJ 2 times in this game against Taurean Prince, which that alone, just don't post up Taurean Prince. But they turned it over both times.
Yes.
One time, Hardy could not make a good entry pass, and the whole thing just fell apart. Another time, PJ caught it, left-hand dribble, tried to turn middle, and just completely lost the ball on a pass.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think he had a turnover in transition as well, if I remember correctly.
I'm cool with posting up Luka under any circumstances. I'm cool with posting Kyrie under any circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I am only cool posting PJ if it is a like 6-inch height mismatch.
Yeah.
Or if it's like posting up a superstar where they don't want to commit a foul. Do not post up defensive players with PJ. Just don't. He's not there yet. He's not there yet. That doesn't say he can't be.
Sure.
But that is I don't like doing that.
It's very select situations for PJ when it comes to being able to get into that post-up area. We saw it in the Clippers game against James Harden where he's able to use a mismatch and be able to take advantage of finishing over him, with a nice little bank shot there. But yes, you want to get him into comfortable spaces on the floor. Maybe some of the post-game not quite there just yet based off of kind of turning the ball over a little bit too much when it comes to those areas.
Yeah,
there.
and it's early for him too.
Yeah.
But anyway, backcourt.
Yeah.
The backcourt.
Bobby's ready to cook on this backcourt.
Well, I'm not going to cook too much yet because, producer Tanner made a really good point about this. Because, Klay was struggling, and we're like, it's preseason, doesn't matter. And then he was like, well, yeah, but Dinwiddie's struggling, and y'all were talking about how he might not be on the team. Is it preseason for him too? It's like, damn it, Tanner, you did make a good point.
Really, Tanner?
Man. You did make a really good point.
Don't laugh now. Where's your mic at? He doesn't have his mic. All right, that's cool.
It's true, though. I mean, it is true. It is preseason. It is early. Even though Spencer was here before, most of the guys on the team that he's playing with now were not here 2 years ago.
Kind of chilling on a little secret, though, on Mavs Twitter.
What's that?
Mavs Twitter was over it tonight.
Yeah,
with Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And like
just giving you the pulse of what Mavs fans were thinking and talking about.
One difference between Klay and Dinwiddie is that Klay, so much of kind of like the bummer of his thing was just like his jumper wasn't going in, where it's like, okay, make or miss. Yeah. With Dinwiddie, it's like process, like, man, you've got to get the ball in the lane.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be able to make a lob pass. Like, that guy's open, you got to be able to hit him with the pass. Like, don't turn over the ball. Take care of the ball. Make your layups. Like, these are like process things where it's like, dude, you got guys breathing down your neck already for playing time.
Yes.
And it looked a little rough.
Jaden Hardy breathing down your neck, my guy.
And Hardy wasn't great tonight. He was easily better than Dinwiddie.
Agreed. Agreed.
And Gortman ran a pick and roll, and granted it was against third and fourth stringers, but in the fourth quarter, Goatman ran a pick and roll with Jamarian Sharp where he was getting downhill and Sharp wasn't there yet. So Gortman took a nice big hesitation dribble, kind of froze the defender, and then boom, pocket pass to Sharp, and it was a big old fancy dunk, and everyone was real fired up. Like, that was a professional pick and roll.
Yeah.
The Mavs offense in the second quarter, before Kyrie came back in and before Klay got hot and they went on this big run we talked about, Mavs offense in the second quarter was not good,
It was
folks.
struggling. Yeah.
It was not good. So I'm a little uneasy. I feel a little unsettled.
Okay, and the reason why I feel like, when it comes to the Spencer Dinwiddie conversation, and more so the concern for me is Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, obviously your two primary guards. If one of them is going to be out, one of the things that we've been talking about in the show is who would be sliding in to be in that starting role, to be as a spot starter. Spencer Dinwiddie, you would think, with the experience, having been there with this team, the trust that Jason Kidd would have with him to be able to handle the ball, that he would be probably that guy on most nights that could be that spot starter for Luka and Kyrie.
Do you trust him right now?
No, and that's where I'm getting to. I don't know if I trust him right now based on the struggles that he's had this preseason, because I thought he would be a guy that could come in, kind of knows most of the system, most of the terminology, and be able to really kind of just fit in and do his thing. That has not been the case so far. And if you're going into a regular season where you know that Luka and Kyrie are going to miss some games, just whether due to maintenance, wear and tear, whatever, you're hoping that you could depend on a guy in Spencer Dinwiddie to provide some of those quality minutes in a spot start. I don't necessarily feel good about that right now based on what we've seen in the preseason. Is there still time for him to potentially turn that around? I think so, because he'll have the opportunities to do it. But right now, based off of what he did this preseason, I don't necessarily feel good about the backup guard situation, especially if Dinwiddie is going to be the guy that they're going to count on to try and provide some of those spot starts and minutes for them in this upcoming year.
Yeah, we spent all preseason and all preseason sitting here saying, man, the Mavs have so many guards. Like, what a big problem this is going to, they got 7 guards on this team, all of them can play. Well, Luka didn't play all preseason. Kyrie missed 2 games. Exum hasn't played at all. And so now you got 3 or 4 guards, and one of them is really struggling. One of them is kind of struggling. And one of them, either Gortman or Brandon Williams, won't be on the team. And Quentin Grimes is probably the best passer of all of them somehow.
Yeah.
It's 4 preseason games. I am not worried one bit about this team whenever Luka and Kyrie are both healthy. But depth is only depth whenever it can be depth. And if one of those guys are out, they need 1 or 2 of these guards to have good games.
Spencer Dinwiddie finishing the game 3 of 8 from the field tonight. But obviously, as this season gets ready, you're hoping that the guard depth will be able to start to straighten itself out. Obviously, with the preseason over with, a lot to evaluate for Jason Kidd and this staff. More importantly, Luka Doncic, when he gets onto the floor, will be able to provide, obviously, that stability at that position. Obviously, Kyrie Irving was really good, though, as well into tonight's game. So a lot of things to take away from the guard play that we saw, but also some really good things from the front court, and more importantly, what that looks like going into the regular season. Coming up next here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show, Tim Cato is going to be joining us here in studio. Plus, we'll hear from Marc Stein live at the American Airlines Center, his takeaways from tonight's game, as well as the preseason is wrapped up, and now the Mavericks get ready to turn their attention to Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs for the regular season. All that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs post-game show.
So I knew, Kevin, that Tim Cato was coming into our studio before I saw him. And I knew because I could hear footsteps on our wonderful Empire Today flooring.
Oh, look at that. Look
in
at
the
that.
studio. And with Empire Today, you get shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Their philosophy is to help find you what you need not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. What they leave out of their selection is just as important as what they put in. And better yet, you can shop for your floors where you use your floors. If you're in your kitchen, hey, you're redoing your kitchen, point your phone at the floor, take a picture, and boom, with the virtual floor designer, you can see what your new floor will look like in your home with your decor, with your lighting. You don't got to go to a big box store. You can stay right at home in your jammies where you're nice and cozy and shop for your floor of the future. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
And with that money you save, you can go over to FOCO. Get fitted out in the best sports gear around with hoodies, shoes, signs, and bobbleheads, and everything else in between. If you're going to a basketball game or a hockey game, if you're going, like I said, to a Mavs game, you can show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets. Whether it's jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every occasion. They even got set decorations like you can see here on our wonderful set here at the DLLS headquarters. FOCO's donated a few awesome pieces for our set as well, so make sure you go show them some love. Check out FOCO.com or click the link in the description below for all non-presale items and use the code DLLS10. That's code DLLS10 for 10% off. Make sure you check out FOCO today. Mavericks take out the Milwaukee Bucks in dominant fashion by 25 points in their preseason finale at the American Airlines Center. We are now joined by our Mavericks beat writer and insider, Tim Cato, fresh off of coming from the American Airlines Center. You good? You all good?
I'm good.
In the flesh.
Good. This is how Bobby lives.
This is how he lives on that side.
On the right side.
What's it like?
Yeah, it feels weird.
Yeah. Do you want to switch?
I feel like my takes suddenly got worse.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you want to
Shots
switch?
fired.
Oh, and look who else we have.
And joining us
No, I don't want to
live
switch. I want to live like this.
from the American Airlines Center, of course, you can dial them up on the Stein line on X at the Stein line. Is our National and Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein, after the Mavericks handled business against the Milwaukee Bucks. Mark, what's going on?
Can you guys hear me okay? Is this working? Are we
sound
on?
Perfect.
Yeah, we caught a bit of a break this evening that I did not anticipate because I am actually in the Bucks press conference room. Only Doc Rivers did a press conference in here tonight, and they broke all their stuff down, so I was able to just sneak in here and stay close to the Bucks locker room. So an unanticipated quick camera setup.
Well, Mark, if you're in the Bucks press conference room and they've only done one so far, what did you think of the game tonight? Did you guys, did you and the teammates play well enough? Only 84 points tonight. Kind of disappointing.
As you can see, all the Bucks background and everything's been removed, so I don't think I have to answer that question.
Okay.
They're
valid.
probably already on the plane. Like they're probably
already on
like
their way
somewhere over Oklahoma.
Yes, they're already on their way.
It's like the inverse of the LeBron tweet where he's like, "Why do I have to go to Milwaukee?"
Yeah,
and then Milwaukee's like, "Why do we got to go to Dallas?"
Yeah.
All I know
Dallas is
is,
a nice city. I like Dallas.
all I know is
I hope
nothing
so.
of the fourth quarter. Nothing.
Do
That
you
Bobby
know who
Cor-
you're talking to?
Nothing that Bobby wants to talk about happened. In the fourth quarter.
All right, don't make me hijack this freaking broadcast.
Yeah,
right
we're not
now.
gonna hijack it just then. We're saving the
okay.
juice for later. We're gonna
Okay.
save the Omax juice for
All
later
right.
because Bobby's been hopped up all night. We're gonna make sure he lets it all out
Wait
a little
a
bit
minute, wait a
later
minute.
on in the show.
You guys haven't brought up Omax yet?
No, we've
not
touched.
yet. We're teasing.
We teased Omax. We want folks to stay in for the entirety of the show, so we're gonna let Bobby cook with Omax a little bit later on. But obviously, with both of you now here and on the show with us as well, Mark, I'll start with you since you're still there at the AAC. Klay Thompson, 11 points in that second quarter, mirroring kind of what he did in that second preseason game in his debut against the Utah Jazz. Thoughts and perspective on his night, but also the feelings at the AAC now that the preseason is now over with.
Yeah, look, man, I have to say the air was let out of the balloon in a significant fashion when I got to the arena, quickly encountered some Bucks personnel, and they were like, no Giannis, no Dame, no Brook Lopez, no Bobby Portis, no Chris Middleton. So, that certainly, this was supposed to be, this game was on national TV, so TNT had their squad out here. I think they were expecting something that would more closely resemble an NBA game. But look, I'm not worried about Klay in the least. I think Jason Kidd said it in his post-game press conference. Even the misses look good. I mean, he was firing away without hesitation. Kyrie looked very sharp. Lively showed us, that he's clearly his offensive game looks more refined. Couple lefty conversions from close range, a righty floater. I mean, he wasn't taking those shots last year, let alone making them. So, I mean, there are some good things to look for if you really want to dig into it. And again, nothing in the fourth quarter to discuss. Absolutely nothing. Or maybe I guess it depends on who you ask on this panel. But I mean, because the Bucks basically, turned this into a non-event before we even started, it's hard for me to come at you with I will not be able to match Bobby's enthusiasm when we do get to the fourth quarter discussion.
I did want to bring up Lively. I don't know if you guys covered him already, but
A little bit. The hooks.
Yeah, the hooks. One was just a floater.
Yeah,
just straight up a floater. Klay Thompson, he's real quick to the podium. He did his press conference. Somebody asked him about Derek Lively. That's what he said he was so impressed by. He said he did not know that Derek Lively had that sort of touch around the rim. Even mentioned that he's going to bring back that style of big man. Maybe. Is that a little bit of hyperbole?
Oh, okay.
Is that just a little bit? But he noted what we've said on this show. In the NBA, teams switch more and more. There are going to be size advantages, and you can see Dallas looking for Derek Lively in these situations. They don't need him rolling clean to the basket. He's going to get plenty of those. Luka's going to feed him for so many lob dunks. But they can feed him when he's got a smaller player on him. Very clearly, Dallas has confidence to find him in those situations. And Derek Lively has the talent, has the ability, has the touch to put those shots in from even if he's 5 feet away, even if he's 7 feet away. That's such a massive development for him. It's something he can keep going all season.
Yeah, again, he only took 47 shots in the paint outside of the restricted area last season in the regular season. He made 23 of them. So he played, I think, 55 or 56 games. So that's less than one of those per game. That number will probably double this season, and hopefully the percentage of completions jumps at least above 50.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be shooting in the 40s from like 5 feet away. That is not good.
Yeah, ideally you want to be at like 55%. That's a good round number that the analytics would say you should be taking that shot every time.
The mismatches that he got, the ability to finish around the rim, those are great developments for Derek Lively. Mark, other perspective for you or any other takeaways based off of your observations from tonight, especially now that the preseason is closed. Now it's time for real basketball, and what that means as we get ready for the Mavericks taking on the Spurs a week from tonight at the American Airlines Center.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm being candid as I can. I don't think this was a night for huge conclusions. I will say Luka looked in tremendous spirits. Saw him from very close range from where I sit. Obviously, he couldn't play, but like I said, I mean, he looked, very relaxed and like he was enjoying the evening, because obviously the question I think everybody has, are we going to see him a week from now on opening night? I mean, the Mavericks aren't able to definitively answer that question as we speak, but, I know what I'm expecting. I mean, I fully expect him to be there for opening night against the Spurs. And like I said, he had a very relaxed air down there as a courtside spectator tonight.
Abdullah has a really good question in the chat. Would Lively's shot stop teams from putting a wing on him to prevent the pick and roll? Obviously, just to flesh this out, the reason you'd put a wing on a center is that it just makes for an easy switching situation. Mm-hmm. If you've got Luka and a center in the pick and roll and you've got two wings on both of them, just trade off. No, I would say, because you still want to stop the pick and roll much more than you want to stop Derek Lively from taking those shots.
Yeah, you'd rather lose to Lively threes or 10-footers.
Make him shoot jump shots.
Yeah. So I think the answer is no, but it still helps. It's still good. And Dallas has a lot of ways to work around a wing on a big man. You're also giving up rebounding disadvantages. And so all of a sudden it might be a situation where Luka's just calling up Klay. He's calling up whoever the weak man is. I mean, Luka plays mismatch hunting far more than he plays center hunting sometimes. You know, he surveys the court, he sees how they're playing, and he goes and attacks what he views as the weakest. More often than not, or a lot of the times, it is the center. Sometimes it's two people involved at once. Sometimes it's just going to be whatever player is weakest, involve that person. Doesn't matter which player that player is guarding. All this is to say is that it's very much a good thing that, like a good development if Lively is able to be someone who can score in these situations. I don't think it's enough to completely change how teams game plan. But if Lively just wants to go out and hit more and more and more, maybe it is.
Yeah, it's a good tool to have in your bag.
Yeah.
Right? Like, on Pokemon Unite, I'm usually going to play as a defender or an attacker, but sometimes there might already be two attackers and a defender on the team. I need to play supporter, or sometimes I need to be an all-rounder. Sometimes I need to be a speedster playing the central area. Like, you have to be able to do all of these things if you want to reach master rank,
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in Ultra for the whole season. Mark, so one person that we didn't see as much of tonight as maybe I thought we would, considering the stakes or lack thereof, really, in this game, is Jason Gortman, Goat Man. What's the deal with him? Is there any, the other day on the show we were talking about like maybe he deserves a roster spot or at least a two-way or something. Like, has there been any sort of inclination or resolution of that situation as far as you can tell?
It's super quick. Jason Kidd was he was asked about it, but the question wasn't even finished when Jason Kidd stopped it and said he has no control over that. He has no control over the two ways.
Okay.
It's not entirely true, but it was very clear that Jason Kidd was not going to give any indication or any hint or answer a question about which way they were leaning with it. So we're left with Marc Stein. What do you have for us?
Well, look, they have until Monday afternoon. The whole league has to set their rosters Monday afternoon. And so clearly you would expect there to be some type of meetings between coaching decision makers and obviously the front office to decide, because as we've been talking about all week, the reality is they have 5 guys they like and only 3 spots. I mean, you did see in the fourth quarter a little bit again of Sharp, who, he's active around the rim at both ends. And, I think in a perfect world, if they could keep all 5, they would keep all 5. But obviously they're not going to be able to keep all 5. They only have the 3 two-way spots. And I think Kessler Edwards, even though we have not seen him at all, because of his NBA resume and experience, he is pretty much locked into one of them. And then you have Brandon Williams and Jazz Gortman playing the same position. You have AJ Lawson, who has been in this program now for quite a long time, and Sharp, the project center. So they're going to have to put their heads together and decide. They don't have to make a final decision until Monday, and I wouldn't expect them to just rush to it tomorrow. They probably know deep down how they're going to play it already. And I do think Brandon Williams has the edge again, just from being in the program longer. But there's no question, again, we saw Gortman start that game against the Clippers. And I think that was an indication, as Tim said, Jason Kidd shut it down when asked about it in his post-game press conference. But I think the fact that Gortman started the Clipper game when the Mavericks were a bit shorthanded, that does let you know that there is some fondness for him from Jason Kidd. So they've got decisions to make. They're going to have to figure it out. They can only keep 3.
Kidd was also asked about Gortman, and he said, yeah, he was terrible in Summer League. Just being honest. But it was a positive thing. He framed it positively. What he was saying is that this is a player who wasn't good a few months ago. Whatever it was about that stage, it didn't translate at the time. It's translated in the postseason.
No, it did not.
Yeah, he was not a good Summer League. He did not have a good Summer League. That's why I keep coming back to my belief that it probably should just be Brandon Williams and Gortman, and we know Kessler Edwards is going to be one of them. If you had to pick one of the two, Brandon or Gortman, I would lean Gortman because I think he has more upside. He has the wingspan. He has the more defensive potential. I think he's a little bit shiftier side to side than Brandon Williams.
For sure.
Brandon Williams, as we saw in this game, is very NBA ready in the context of a two-way role.
Mm-hmm.
He's 3 years older. He should be.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a situation where you like Gortman and you think he can be Brandon Williams or better here in, this time next year, just keep both. Because Brandon Williams might fill an immediate need. I walked in, you guys were talking about the guards, and the guards need to do something. You're talking about the depth. I heard a little bit of that, and I kind of agree where this is a really deep team on paper, and I think they are. I think this is a really deep team.
And Exum is eventually going to come back.
But especially with the Exum injury, you got to make sure that you have guards who can step in.
Yeah.
So if you're not positive Gortman can do that, but you think in a year he will surpass what Brandon Williams can do, but you also see the need for a player like Brandon Williams. You see the need for somebody to be able to step in, give you some spot minutes at some point when things are weird in November and December and maybe Kyrie's missing time with injury. Just keep them both. That's where I stand on it, and we'll see what they do. But to me, in my perspective, it's pretty easily just keep all three of those. All three of them.
All
Not
three
those.
all three of
All
those.
three of those.
Of those
guys. Those guys. Those
dudes.
thingies.
Coming
three
up
of them.
next year on the DLLS Mavs post-game show, the highlight of the night, Bobby Carella, as Omax got all of us going in the fourth quarter.
That's why
of
you have
game.
the center seat.
That's right.
Plus, what Klay Thompson had to say post-game, as well as the Mavericks dominate the Milwaukee Bucks in their preseason finale as they get ready for Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs a week from tonight. All that and more coming up next on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. Say something.
I need you to put that down.
No, this is for GM Ben.
I'm trying to sell people stuff right now. I need you to look professional.
All right. What doesn't look professional about an award? Hey, we're an award-winning podcast.
That's true.
Look
This
at the
is-
award
you
I've won.
winning
Yeah.
individual
This is the
awards.
only award-winning show on the All City Network, actually.
Whoa!
I think, or at least in DLLS.
Wow.
And if you want to join this burgeoning community, this upstart program,
that's a good word, burgeoning.
you can
I like
do it
that.
by going to alldlls.com/diehard, where you can join the ranks of the diehard. We are Legion folks. And shout out to Courtney, to Aaron, to Brady, and to Miha, who all became diehards today,
Let's go.
as a matter of fact. Now, if you like what we've seen so far in the post-game show, and if you watched the pregame show earlier, that's always going to be free. We got 5 shows a week coming to you on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. But if you want access to our paywalled website, to all the written content, including stuff from Tim here about the Mavs, and we got Cowboys and Rangers and Stars, we got college and Dallas Wings and FC Dallas on the way too. Well, hey, the only way you can read all that is by becoming a diehard. When you sign up, you get a free shirt. You also get a discount on all future merch. You get a discount on future events. You also get to join the diehard Discord, where you can talk about your team with other people in the community during the game. Hey, you can also talk about music. You can talk about smoking meats. You can talk about what you're watching on the television. You can share photos of your pets for whenever you or someone else on the service having a bad day. Hey, we got it all. So there's so many reasons to become a diehard. And I think the best of all is what Kevin's going to tell you right now.
Get a physical diehard card as well to show off your membership. Yeah, a physical diehard card to show off your membership here at DLLS Sports. Go to alldlls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today. 20% off events, premium content, as Bobby was mentioning, pregame shows, postgame shows. We've got a lot of incredible merchandise as well that you'll want to check out, and you will get becoming a member at DLLS Sports. alldlls.com/diehard. Become a diehard member today, as
That's
we bring
right.
back in our National and Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein, live from the American Airlines Center. Mavericks dominate the Milwaukee Bucks in their preseason finale by 25 as they get a win in this preseason, finish the preseason at 1-3. Next stop will again be at the AAC when they take on Victor Wembanyama and the San Antonio Spurs 1 week from tonight. Can't wait for opening night for your Mavericks at the American Airlines Center. Tim Cato also here with us as well, as he has come back from the AAC. Before we get to Bobby's highlights of the night, because we're going to let Bobby cook when it comes to Omax. I do want to know what Klay had to say after the game. He spoke after tonight's game as well. Had the 11 points had the 3 3-pointers in the second quarter, played well in that period, and was able to get comfortable in the second quarter. What did Klay have to say post-game tonight?
He said a few things. He said, hey, guys, can we make this quick?
Okay.
You got somewhere to be? It was an early game tonight.
Fair enough.
If nobody had asked questions after me, it would have been very quick.
Oh, wow.
He said, let's see. I asked him about the shooting, the mild shooting struggles, and he said that's what preseason is for, getting into a rhythm. Obviously, we talked about the fact that he sometimes takes a little while to get warmed up, that it might not even come right away in October. Shots will fall, but maybe not to that same clip. He enjoyed, and he said anytime you hit 2 consecutive threes in a NBA game, it's a great feeling. I would have to believe that he's right.
Anytime I make 2 layups, I feel like I'm going to live forever.
In an NBA game?
I can relate. No, just by myself.
On an open net?
Yeah.
8-foot rim? Yeah. It probably hasn't happened that often.
I have a question for Tim Cato.
Yes.
How long did it take you to get back to the studio after this Klay Thompson press conference?
How long did it take me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say because then people might know where we are. They might.
I'm pretty sure we've given the game away.
Yeah, I think we've probably given the game away. Probably.
You got back so fast.
Seriously, it took about it was probably an 8 or 9 minute walk, maybe 7 or 8. Yeah.
Because the highlight here that you probably missed was Giannis Antetokounmpo leaving the Bucks locker room and saying, "I need to go see Jason Kidd, and how do I get to the Mavs locker room?"
When is he a free agent, Mark?
Right.
To go catch up with his old Bucks coach, and I believe our friend Dorothy Gentry has video of Giannis actually running into Luka post game after visiting Coach Kidd. So I know what Bobby's highlights were. I can safely anticipate what his highlights from tonight were, even though we haven't discussed it. But I think that was the more notable post game action rather than Klay's press conference.
That's way more notable than any other Klay thing that I could share with you guys.
Okay.
And so, yeah,
Okay.
I did miss that, and I'm glad that we still have boots on the ground over there.
Yeah.
Even though my boots took me here in about 7 or 8 minutes.
Those boots were made for walking. That is for sure.
I'm going to walk about 7 miles today.
Oh, look at you getting your steps in.
I was worried about where am I going to go set up? How fast can I get set up? And the fact that you got all the way back to the studio so quick, my hat is off to you.
Shout out to you, Tim, for getting your steps in.
I'm not saying, guys, by the way, about Giannis and J Kidd and Giannis and Luke. I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying.
Okay, Windhorse. All right.
I'm just saying. All right?
By the way,
I'll put him away now.
Haven't we already done this news cycle with Giannis? We're going to do it again?
No, we're not doing that again.
Are you gonna write a thing for alldlls.com/Mavericks where you bemoan the possibility?
I did write once that I didn't want Giannis on the Mavericks.
Oh, wow. That's
Are
a
you
hot
responsible
take.
for the way that this has played out, Tim?
Why?
I'm just saying, I did write that. He's a free agent after 2027, assuming he declines his player option.
Interesting.
Okay.
Interesting.
Because he would stunt Omax's development. Is that why?
Yeah, he's blocking the real dynamic power forward.
I wrote this in 2020, and it was more of a. I'm gonna admit it was more of a creative writing exercise, but I basically talked about how I just thought that team would so easily be the best team in the NBA, and that I had a lot of appreciation and romanticism for the way that Dirk earned his way. Rather, I think if Dirk in 2011, if LeBron had come to Dallas, yes, it would still count as a title. They probably would have got 2 or 3. It just wouldn't have felt the same. And so that was my whole argument at the time. Most people yelled at me. I get it.
I'm about to yell at you, but we ain't got time for it on the show.
Yeah, can we just yell about something else? Can we yell about the thing that Bobby has been... Is it
we're
time?
about to let Bobby cook.
I think it might be time for this.
Okay.
We don't need to go back over
Let me
old
set
bylines.
you up. Let me set you up.
Well, can we put Stein on the ISO cam for this to get just his reaction?
Okay,
to the
we get
Omax
his.
one?
Okay, we might have to make that. So the highlight of the night, it wasn't the 22-6 run in the final 7:42 of the first half where the Mavericks blew the game wide open. It wasn't that. The moment of the night came with about 8 minutes left. Omax Prosper gets the basketball, and he decides to go full poster mode on some dude named AP from the Milwaukee Bucks, Bobby.
Yeah, and we
Curler.
went on quite a journey with our guy AP because at the beginning of the game I was like, that's just some dude, and by the end of the game I'm like, he's my beautiful baby boy. Like, this is my favorite center in the league.
Oh, it was like he's got the worst free throw shooting stroke he's ever seen.
No, it was great,
life.
and this dude was so much better than the other Bucks big, who just he was really upsetting me.
You were getting quite upset at the other.
I just
Milwaukee
did not like his
Bucks
whole
big
deal
for no reason.
Tanner, let's go to the footage.
Cue up the beautiful bean
So
footage.
we can only show stills, all right? But I want to walk you through this.
Oh, look where he took off
This
from.
is one of the greatest moments of my life, all right? So this was Omax's last step. This was when he decided, I'm going to throw it the F down on this dude.
Throw it down, Omax.
I want everyone to have an appreciation and maintain an appreciation for the audacity, for the sheer will, determination,
the unmitigated gall,
and entrepreneurial spirit of this. You know,
entrepreneurial spirit.
Omax said, I'm going to force this guy to make a business decision. But you know what? He tried to challenge it. And so, Tanner, as we go to the second image, this dude did not get out of the way. AP rose to the occasion, but Omax rose higher. He is cocking the ball way back. He is almost eye level with the rim on the other side of the restricted area. And folks, this is when DFW, nay, the world's collective heart rate skipped a beat. But all was well just 0.1 seconds later when Omax threw down one of the greatest dunks in the history of this franchise.
Oh, he went full Michael Jordan Space Jam on it. Look at the arm lean. The arm lean is going all the way to the basket. Look
Anything is possible in Looney Tune land. And Omax threw it down. Now, it's not quite a dunk. It's
with
a
no
little more
regard
of
for human life.
It's like it's like a Blake Griffin throw in. But it was an and one, I believe, rightfully so. Omax absolutely ended this dude's career, brought the house down. After this play, the NBA was like, preseason's over. It's time for the real game. And as a matter of fact, Mavs, you get a bye through the regular season. You can just play home court. You get game one at home. We'll let everyone else fight for second place, boys, because Omax Prosper is the next face of the NBA. Giannis, move over. It's a good thing you didn't play tonight, buddy. Get used to it because Omax is the future. He's not future, actually. Omax is now.
Stein.
He's the present.
He's the present.
He's a gift.
Could we get a reporting fact check on quite a few things there?
No, that was all
Can
true.
you fact check
Bobby's
all of what
statement?
Bobby just
It was
said just
all
now?
true.
Dallas has they have a bye. Is that true, Marc Stein?
I didn't catch the last thing you said. Say it again.
I believe Bobby Karalla said that the Dallas Mavericks now, because of this Omax dunk, will have a first-round bye in the playoffs. Just wanted to get a fact check on that.
First of all, Posesnich, if I'm saying his name properly, and I hope so. I mean, okay, it didn't go so well for him on that business decision challenging Bobby Carella's favorite player. But he did roast the Mavericks in the first half on like 3 or 4 dribble handoffs.
He was
he
kind
was
of killing.
great.
Yeah, he was killing in the first half.
He was great. I love his game, honestly. I do.
It was hard to watch, man. So, okay. And also on the Carella Strader, I know you could only use stills, but like you don't have the ability to like circle Omax with a red pen and show us.
We don't have those capabilities.
Soon I will be.
Yes.
We're inventing the technology as we
Yes.
speak.
The
I'll soon
Carella
be able
Strader
to.
is just in its infant stages right now.
Trust me, I've acquired some software in the last several hours. You can check the YouTube channel for some Omax film breakdowns.
The R&D department of DLLS.
He's under construction right now.
Yeah. But we love our R&D.
We do.
Call it RSRCH. DV. I can't keep going. I forgot how development is spelled.
You completely.
Oh my god. Oh my
Great
God.
moment for Bobby's guy. He also had a couple nice lefty finishes in the fourth quarter too that we don't want to leave out. But
He did.
But again, Posesnich also had a very good night. So
He did. I'm not trying to make fun of him. He did have a really, really good game. And I mean, literally, like I was sitting up here like, who is this guy? He is cooking everyone. Like he was getting buckets on Gafford and Lively.
He's on a 2-way, and I just like saying his name, Posesnich. I'm not. I think
AP over here.
Anze. I'm not even. I don't have the pronunciation down on the first name.
If we got any, is he Latvian or Lithuanian? Do we have any Eastern Europeans in the chat?
He was intriguing tonight.
Yeah. Any Baltic bros in the chat? Let us know. Let us know how you pronounce it.
Pashisnik is how Sean Heath was saying it, the PA announcer.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
But I'm just saying that's just one source. We don't know.
He'll forever be known as AP for me.
The Bucks Pasesnich, but like I said, I might be wrong.
Honestly, I trust you, Stein, over Sean Heath.
Oh,
I would tell him that.
Wow. Jeez.
Okay.
Shots fired at Sean.
I trust both, but if I had to choose one, I'm going to choose my coworker.
But
Okay.
I'm not as confident on the first name, but Pasesnich, I think I got it.
Okay.
I
got
mean,
it
listen.
Can on the last name.
All sorts of names were being said and uttered and screamed inside that arena throughout the entire game, but every single person in attendance left with one name on their mind, and that name is O. Max Prosper.
So, Bobby Umbrella, where were you?
That sounds like 3 names.
Right.
Office fourth quarter?
You said what?
You were in the office for the fourth quarter when
I was.
dunking and lefty scooping and doing all kinds of stuff.
He was bringing the Stars crew to their feet. Like, he was putting on a show, man. It was impressive stuff.
Wait,
really
we have a pronunciation in the chat. Let me try to get this right. It says Screw 41. He says, I think it's pronounced. Hang on. Let me try to. Son of Omax. Okay, I think I got that pronunciation right. So Screw 41 might actually have the correct one.
Hey, how is since I obviously can't see it, I can barely log on. How is our first ever post game chat?
Oh, it's going great.
It's great.
We got 164 people jamming with us right now.
That's right.
Nice.
And
We could just keep going all night.
No, it's time to go, actually.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, tomorrow, special show, special start time. I'm going to throw it over to Tim Cato because he is going to be hosting the DLLS Mavs podcast tomorrow with a couple of special folks.
I want to make it clear. He is the host.
Yes.
I'm just going to be on the end.
Would you like to let us know?
Mark, do you want to host? Is that what you're asking? Are you trying to take this from me?
I mean, you and Legs was cooking today, so
I'm not qualified to host. You are the host.
Not the way you was cooking with Legs today on the All NBA podcast.
Great appearance. I listened to that.
That was fantastic. I watched the whole show. It was great.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
But yeah, we'll be on tomorrow at 3 p.m. Local time. God's time, really, is what I refer to Central Time Zone.
Okay.
We'll be on at 3 p.m. and it's going to be me and Mark, and we're going to have Brian Damaris from the Mavericks TV and radio broadcasts.
And a great podcast. Take that with you.
A great podcast. We'll be talking a lot more about everything that we saw. Obviously, I showed up a little bit late, so I still have some thoughts to get off. We'll save them for tomorrow. I bet Mark still has some thoughts that we just didn't quite have time to on this postgame to get to. We're going to go through all of that tomorrow. But in the meantime, as you wait for 3 p.m., just rewatch the show over and over and over again. Yeah, every time you hit the end, just go back to 0. Let me go watch some other stuff. And we'll be here. We'll be here for you.
You're going to have Stein read the Blue Chew ad, or what are you going to do?
Oh, gosh. Is it Blue Chew ad day?
I don't know, man. The only way to find out is by tuning in.
We love all our advertising. We love every
already terrified of you doing all the commercial reads.
I can do them all.
I'm pretty sure Tim Cato said he will do all the reads on Friday's show. I'm pretty sure that was the deal.
Oh, no Blue. All right,
oh, you're saying no Blue Chew ad.
Also, it doesn't matter. We love every advertising.
We do
love all of our advertising partners.
I can do them all. This seems like a great topic for our post-show meeting, which doesn't exist, but increasingly I feel like we might need one.
If it did exist.
Let's end the show.
You're gonna host
when will Kati make an appearance? So Kati was actually on camera with us
2 days ago.
2 days ago. She brought something onto the set and made an appearance.
She brought the suitcase on set. That's right. It's time for us to go.
It is.
Here on the DLLS Mavs post-game show. Mavericks clobber the Bucks in their preseason finale, 109-84. Finished 1-3 on the preseason. The next stop is the regular season, boys and girls, as the Mavericks will take on the San Antonio Spurs a week from tonight at the American Airlines Center as your defending Western Conference champions make another attempt to get back to the NBA Finals. We will be chronicling all of it all season long here on DLLS Mavs. Again, special start time tomorrow, 3 p.m. Tim Cato, Marc Stein, and special guest Brian Damaris will have you here on DLLS Mavs. So make sure you tune in, like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports here on YouTube. And also make sure you download and subscribe to all of our fantastic podcasts here on DLLS Sports. For our National and Mavericks NBA insider, Marc Stein at the American Airlines Center, Tim Cato, Bobby Carella, I'm Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 3 p.m. here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.